Hello Divergence. Today I'm going to talk about addiction. I don't really have a scenario for this video, so I'm just gonna go over a few points that I believe are important in understanding addiction and overcoming addiction. So let's start. So first thing I want to talk about is society's perception of addiction. Addiction is very often stigmatized by society, and people look down on those who are addicted. But one needs to recognize that a person with addiction needs only help and love to be able to overcome this struggle. People need to realize that addiction, unlike autism and ADHD, who are, in my view, a neurological type, addiction is a disorder. It is an illness. And as such, it needs proper treatment. And definitely, addicted people need help from others. Not that it's impossible to overcome it by yourself, but it's so much more difficult. But they need help from others instead of their condition being stigmatized. Okay, point number 2 I would like to make is how addiction is treated, how institutions treat addiction. Again, there is a lot of stigma involved here, and people are perceived as if they have done something wrong. But the only wrong they are doing is to themselves. That definitely excludes when they do harm to others, but comparatively, that's very few cases compared to all the rest. So how institutions treat addiction? Quick answer, benzodiazepines. And a broader answer, trying to treat the addiction itself without treating the problem that's causing it. And then you leave the psychiatric institution and voila, you start drinking again. And people have the wrong idea about this. They think such people don't have volition, they're inconsistent, and etc. etc. But the real reason is that point number 3, addiction itself is not the real problem. It's just a symptom of a much bigger issue. And back to point number 2, using benzodiazepines or other medication to treat especially alcohol addiction is just ridiculous. I mean, alcohol acts on the GABA receptors, the same receptors that benzodiazepines act on. And when you go out and eventually stop them, you would feel the need to drink once again. It's no wonder why so many people go back to alcohol or other addiction after they have used the help of an institution. So back to number 3 here, which I think is the main point. Addiction itself is not the problem. It's just a symptom of a larger problem. And the only single way to treat addiction is to address the problem that's causing it. This should start even before you start treating the substance abuse itself. So in this case, the person might go on being addicted to the substance for a while until you solve the issue, and then the substance would slowly vanish. Plus, the substance could be alcohol or drugs, but it could also be gambling or gaming or watching too much social media, whatever. Point number 4 I would like to make, and this is coming from my own experience. This is quitting slow. When you think about it, all the medicine that's being prescribed by psychiatrists is usually diminished slow before quitting. So why shouldn't this be the case with any other substance, like alcohol for example? When I used to drink between half a liter to a liter of liquor per day. I went to my therapist at the time and I told her I want to quit, just like that. And she just plainly told me, don't do it. Don't do it straight away. You might go into delirium tremens, she said. And there is a small possibility that you might die. So just do it slow. That's what she said. So that's what I did. I did it very slowly and carefully. I started decreasing my drinking by 50 grams a day until I reached 0. And still, the struggle was a lot. And you know why? Because the problem that was causing me to drink wasn't solved at all. And during the next 3 months, while I was solving the issue and delving deeper into why the hell am I drinking, I still felt that I needed to drink. It was only when I found out that I'm autistic that my perception began to change. I started explaining myself all the issues that were making me drink, like the social anxiety, like all the noises around, like my routine getting messed up, and having these numerous meltdowns, which I felt so ashamed about. So yeah, I would say it. Doesn't matter if it's alcohol, if it's gambling, if it's gaming, or heroin, just stop it slow. Don't rush yourself. Don't be like Ray Charles in the movie where he asked them to tie him up to the radiator. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's possible to stop all at once, but it's much easier to stop slower. So next point I want to make is habits and friends that you should avoid. There are definitely certain habits, which is more obvious than the other point, that you definitely have to avoid in order to stop drinking or doing anything else. This might include overeating, visiting particular places that would remind you of doing that substance, and of course, avoiding certain people. When I stopped drinking, 90% of the friends I had, I just dropped immediately. And when you think about it, I'm autistic, I'm socially anxious, and drinking was making this different. So I just realized I don't need so many friends. Plus, they were not real friends at all. A big chunk of them thought of me as being weak for not drinking and often would ask me to join them when I would pass nearby. A few I tried to explain my issue to, and they did not understand, and the only few that remained are my close friends right now. And probably, most probably, there's certain people and situations that you would need to avoid, at least initially, until you stabilize. That might be the shop assistant who is not behaving very nicely. It might be a colleague at work. You might want to change work, whatever. The most important thing to do is to stop that habit that's killing you. Everything else can wait. So, last point I want to talk about is family and people who are close to you. You're much more likely to succeed in this battle if you have people who can help you. The best case scenario is this being your family, but alas, this is not the case with most people. Plus, there might be certain family members that you would definitely need to avoid. And think about it, it's for the good of them as well as you, because when you get your issues solved, you're gonna be much better towards them, towards everybody. So it's a win-win situation. Don't put it so hard on yourself that you're not seeing somebody for a particular amount of time. And stay close to the people that can really help you. And it definitely helps if somebody or you can explain that the substance itself is not the problem, but you have much deeper issues to solve. This makes it much easier to trust the close people around you, because they might want to help, but they don't necessarily know how. And talking about society's stigma, they might have taken a little bit of that, so they would need some explanation to change their behavior. And the last thing I want to add in this family and close people to you point is, well, some people don't really have anybody that's close to them. In this case, although I've talked about self-help groups and Alcoholics Anonymous a bit negatively in a previous video, in such cases they might help, because you're going to meet at least some like-minded people there. And I know there are some token systems and phone numbers, whatever you need to call someone, usually someone that have already overcome their addiction. But yeah, generally, it's much easier to have someone help you overcome addiction. So that's about it for this video, guys. Thank you for your time, and peace be with you.